we are starting with a new chapter, that is adsorption and colloids. So this chapter consists of two parts. First we will be studying about adsorption and the next lecture will be about colloids. We know the meaning of absorption, but how does it differ from adsorption? So now let us study about adsorption. Let us consider an example. If I give you a bucket filled with water and a wooden plank, if you take the wooden plank and place it in the bucket filled with water, say for 1 hour, what is going to happen? The water is going to be accumulated on the wooden plank only on the outer surface, right? If you keep the same wooden plank overnight in the bucket filled with water, what is going to happen? The water molecules are going to penetrate inside the wooden plank. So when the water molecules enter inside the wooden plank and are present on the outer surface as well, it is called as absorption, AB. Okay, and when water molecules get accumulated only on the outer surface of the wooden plank, it is called as adsorption, that is AD. Now we are going to study the process of adsorption in detail. If we consider the surface of a liquid or solid, the molecular forces which are present at the surface of the liquid, they are unbalanced or either in unsaturated state. Now why is this so? If you observe this diagram here, they have shown two molecules here, one which is inside the water and one which is on the upper surface of the water. So if you check out this molecule which is present inside the water, it receives that force of attraction from the other molecules which are present inside the water. Whereas the molecule which are present on the upper surface of the liquid gets the attraction only from the molecules which are present below it. On the upper part, it has no attraction. And this is the reason that the molecular force becomes unbalanced or in unsaturated state. Because of the unsaturation in solid and liquid surface, it tends to attract the gases or any dissolved substance which is present in the air. And this is the reason that the substance gets accumulated on the surface of the solid or liquid. Now how does this adsorption actually occur? The adsorption phenomena is caused by dispersion forces, which are also called as London dispersion forces or van der Waals forces. Now what are these forces? London dispersion forces are the type of forces which act between the atoms and the molecules. Let us now watch a video which will help us understand the concept of London dispersion forces. Always keep in mind, the London dispersion forces takes place in non-polar molecules. Now if you look at the picture here, these two are the non-polar molecules. Non-polar molecules are those which do not have plus and minus charge. That is, either they are going to have plus charge or minus charge. For example, Cl2. Cl has a minus charge. So the atoms are going to have minus charge only. So if we look at these atoms here, they have electrons in there, right? And electrons are negative in nature. When these two atoms approach each other, the electrons which are present in them, they move around and they get collected at one end of the atom, as you can see in the picture here. Okay, and since all these electrons get collected at one end, it gets a partially negative charge. Because it is partial, it is denoted by delta, right? Now the other end of the atom, it becomes partially positive and it is denoted by plus delta. Delta stands for partial, means not completely. This atom here, which has now acquired the partial positive and negative charge, is going to attract the electrons which are present in the second atom. So of course the electrons will get collected at one end of the molecule, making it partially negative. The other end becomes partially positive. There will be a bond formed between the two molecules. The positive end of one molecule will attract the negative end of the other molecule, and this is because of the force of attraction. This force of attraction between the positive and the negative sign is called as the London dispersion force. London dispersion forces are temporary and often found in gaseous molecules. The adsorption force is the sum of all the interactions that take place between all the atoms. So this pulling interactions causes the surface of a liquid to tighten like an elastic film. A measure of the elastic force at the surface of a liquid is called as the surface tension, and the surface tension is the amount of energy that is required to either stretch or increase the surface of a liquid by a unit area. There is a tendency to have a minimum surface tension. In that case, there is decrease in the free energy, and this leads to adsorption. There are two terms which are involved in the process of adsorption. One is the adsorbent and the second is adsorbate. So just recall the example which I gave you to understand the difference between absorption and adsorption. There we took a bucket filled with water and a wooden plank, right? So how would you define adsorbent? It is the material or substance which is present in the bulk on the surface of which adsorption takes place. So in this case, the wooden plank acts as a adsorbent. And how would you define adsorbate? It is the substance getting absorbed on the adsorbent is called as adsorbate. So the water molecules or the water which was present in the bucket is now acting as a adsorbate. Let us consider some examples to understand the difference between absorption and adsorption. The example of absorption is, if you take a cotton and dip it in water, what is going to happen? The cotton is going to become wet with water, and the reason behind this is absorption. What are the examples of adsorption? If you take some metals like platinum, palladium, copper, nickel, etc., then if there are gases present like hydrogen, oxygen, then they will only accumulate on the outer surface of these metals. Hence, it comes under the example of adsorption. The adsorption of gases like nitrogen, carbon dioxide by activated charcoal is also an example. Removal of coloring matter like an organic dye, for example the methylene blue. So when you take charcoal and when this charcoal is added to methylene blue solution and when the solution is shaken vigorously, it becomes colorless after some time. Why is that so? Because the dye molecules, dye means color. So the methylene blue molecules, they get accumulated on the surface of the charcoal. Since they are present only on the outer surface of charcoal, it is an example of adsorption. There is one more concept which you need to know, that is desorption. Desorption is a process of removal of an adsorbed substance from a surface on which it was adsorbed. So basically, if you consider any of the example which were given just now, let us take the first example, that was adsorption of gases like hydrogen, oxygen on metals like platinum or palladium. So it is the process of removing the gases which were adsorbed on the metal. So in technical words, we can say removing adsorbate from the adsorbent. Let us now study the difference between adsorption and absorption. Here is a table which explains the same. Adsorbed matter is concentrated only at the surface and it is not going to penetrate through the surface of the bulk of adsorbent, and adsorption is a surface phenomena, while absorbed matter is uniformly distributed inside as well as the surface of the bulk of the substance, and absorption is a bulk phenomena. Bulk means most of something. For adsorption, the concentration of the adsorbate is high only at the surface of the adsorbent. For absorption process, the concentration of the absorbate is uniform throughout the bulk of the absorbent. So as I told you, in adsorption, the water molecules, they are present only on the outer surface of the wooden plank, whereas in absorption, the water molecules will be present inside as well as on the outer surface of the wooden plank. Adsorption is dependent on temperature and pressure, whereas Absorption is independent of temperature and pressure. Now, adsorption is accompanied by evolution of heat, which is known as heat of adsorption. So you can say that it is an exothermic process where heat is given out, and absorption is not accompanied by any evolution or absorption of heat. Adsorption depends on the surface area, whereas absorption has got nothing to do with the surface area, and hence it is independent of the surface area. Let us study some examples of adsorption. So, adsorption of a gas or liquid like acetic acid by activated charcoal. So, whether it is a gas or liquid, it will be present or it will be accumulated only on the outer surface of the charcoal. And the example of absorption is absorption of water by cotton or absorption of ink by a blotting paper. So, if there is ink fallen on the table and if we place a paper on it, the ink will be absorbed inside the paper and also on the outer surface of the paper. So this was the difference between adsorption and absorption. If in case there is still some problem in understanding the concept of adsorption and absorption, then here is a simple animated video which will help you explain the same.
Adsorption. You can see below in figure. This is the plane body surface, and this is the another molecule's substance. Okay, these molecules of substance though, in plane body surface. And these plane body surface is not absorb inside of body and take place only on the plane body surface. This is adsorption. Now, de facto, the phenomenon of attracting and retaining the molecules of a substance on its surface by another substance is called adsorption. For example, NH3 gas is adsorbed on charcoal. Absorption, you can see below in figure. This is the plane body surface. And these is another molecule's substance. Okay, these molecules of substance are through in plane body surface, and these plane body surface is absorbed inside of body, and these is take place only on the surface in plane body. This process is absorption. Now, definition. The phenomenon of passing of a substance through the surface of another substance into the bulk is called adsorption.
So I hope you are clear with the concept now. Next is sorption. If you take a chalk and dip it in ink, what is going to happen? The ink molecules will be adsorbed on the surface of the chalk, but at the same time the surface is going to become colored, but the solvent which is present in the ink is going to go inside the chalk as well. And if it is going inside the chalk, which means there is absorption also taking place. So when both adsorption and absorption occur simultaneously, then that process is called as sorption. There are two types of adsorption based upon the nature of forces involved. First is physical adsorption, which is also called as physisorption, and the second is chemical adsorption or chemisorption. Let us now study these two adsorptions in detail. First is the physical adsorption or physisorption. When the adsorbent such as gas molecules get accumulated on the surface of a solid because of weak van der Waals forces, this type of adsorption is called as the physical adsorption or physisorption. The van der Waals forces, they are very much similar to the forces which causes the condensation of a gas into liquid. So when gas is converted into liquid, there is heat released. So similar is the case in physisorption, heat is released. The heat which is released during physisorption is of the same order of magnitude as heat of condensation. Magnitude means extent, to what extent something takes place. Now because the nature of van der Waals force is very weak, that is why physisorption is also weak in nature. The adsorbed gas forms several layers of molecules at high pressures, and the extent of adsorption is large at low temperatures. Also, in physisorption, equilibrium is attained rapidly, and this process of physisorption can be reversed by lowering of pressure of a gas or by increasing the temperature. Equilibrium means the reaction becomes stable. Next is chemical adsorption or chemisorption. This phenomena of chemisorption was first investigated in the year 1916 by an American chemist, Irving Langmuir. In this process, the gas molecules, they get accumulated on the surface of a solid, or you can say adsorb it, by the means of a chemical bonds, and they can be either covalent or ionic, and such a phenomena is called as chemical adsorption or chemisorption. It is very much specific in nature. Chemisorption involves gas solid as the adsorbate and adsorbent, and this reaction is usually exothermic, which means heat is given out during this process. The heat which is given out during the process of chemisorption for per mole of adsorbate is nearly of the same order of magnitude which accompanies chemical bonding. Hence, chemisorption involves a large energy of activation and is referred to as activated adsorption. Activation energy means in order to start a particular process, some energy is required, and that is called as energy of activation. Chemisorption increases with increase in temperature in the beginning, and that is because more number of molecules can have activation energy. But after certain temperature, chemisorption decreases with increase in temperature because this results in breaking of the chemical bonds. Increasing temperature means you are applying more heat, and that can break the chemical bonds, and that is the reason that chemisorption decreases with increase in temperature. Chemisorption depends upon the surface area of the adsorbent. Now, at times at low temperature, physisorption occurs, but then it passes into chemisorption as the temperature is increased. Let us now take a look at the comparison of physisorption and chemisorption. The forces operating are weak van der Waals forces in physisorption, whereas in chemisorption the forces operating are of chemical nature and they might be covalent or ionic bonds. Physisorption is not specific in nature, that is, all gases adsorb on all solids. For example, all gases adsorb on activated charcoal. Whereas chemisorption is highly specific and it occurs only when chemical bond formation is possible between the adsorbent and adsorbate. For example, adsorption of oxygen on tungsten, hydrogen on nickel, etc. The heat of adsorption is low and it lies in the range of 20 to 40 kJ per mole. For chemisorption, there is higher heat of adsorption and it lies in the range of 40 to 200 kJ per mole. Physisorption occurs at a low temperature and it decreases with an increase in temperature. For chemisorption, it is favored at high temperature, but the extent of the chemical adsorption is lowered as the temperature is raised, because raising the temperature means breaking of chemical bond. Physisorption can be reversed, which means you can change the direction. Chemisorption is irreversible, which means you cannot change the direction of that particular reaction. Physisorption layer may be multimolecular layer. Multimolecular means it is made up of many layers. Okay, whereas chemisorption forms a monomolecular layer of adsorbed particles, means only one layer of adsorbed molecules is formed. Example of physisorption is, at low temperature, nitrogen gas is physically adsorbed on iron. For chemisorption, nitrogen gas chemically adsorbed on iron at high temperature, it forms a layer of iron nitride which is desorbed at a very high temperature. Desorption means the layer which was formed is now removed. Let us now study some factors affecting the adsorption of gases on solid. We know that all solids adsorb gas to some extent and it depends upon a number of factors. So let us study these factors one by one. The first factor is nature of adsorbate, that is the gas. So the amount of gas adsorbed by a solid depends upon the nature of the gas. So the gases which are going to have a high critical temperature, they liquefy easily, and these are the gases which get readily adsorbed on the solid. So the gases like sulfur dioxide, chlorine, ammonia, these are the gases which easily are liquefiable and they get adsorbed on a larger extent compared to gases like nitrogen, oxygen and hydrogen, which are difficult to liquefy. Critical temperature is the temperature of the gas in its critical state, above which the gas cannot be liquefied alone using pressure. The next factor is nature of adsorbent. So the substances which provide larger surface area for a given mass are effective as adsorbents and adsorb appreciable volumes of gases. So some good examples of adsorbent are silica gel, charcoal. Now they are effective adsorbents because of their porous nature. Porous means there are holes present in them. So larger the surface area, more effective the adsorbents will behave. For example, if I give you a wooden plank, then the gas will be adsorbed only on the outer surface of the wooden plank. But if I give you a charcoal or say silica gel, then of course it has holes within, so it will be present on the outer surface as well as inside the holes as well. So here we have a bigger surface area, so more adsorption is taking place. The next factor is surface area of adsorbent. We know that adsorption is a surface phenomena, so the extent of adsorption increases with increase in surface area of adsorbent. So this factor is very much similar to the second factor which we studied, that is nature of adsorbent. So some adsorbents which provide a larger surface area are finely divided substances, rough surfaces and colloidal substances. Temperature also plays an important role in the process of adsorption, and we know that adsorption is an exothermic process. Exothermic process means heat is released. According to Le Chatelier's principle, adsorption is favored at low temperature. So the amount of gas adsorbed is inversely proportional to temperature. What is Le Chatelier's principle? Le Chatelier's principle helps us to predict whether the effect of change in temperature, pressure or concentration will have on the position of the equilibrium in a chemical reaction. The last factor is pressure of a gas. The extent of the gas adsorbed, it increases with an increase in pressure at any temperature. So the extent of adsorption is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas. At high pressure, the extent of adsorption becomes independent of the pressure, and the surface of the adsorbent then becomes fully covered by the adsorbed gaseous molecules. So this was all about the factors affecting adsorption of gases on solids. Let us now study some applications of adsorption. First is catalysis. Solid catalysts are used in many industrial manufacturing processes. So for example, iron is used as a catalyst in the manufacture of ammonia. Platinum is used as a catalyst in the manufacture of sulfuric acid. It is also used in hydrogenation of oils. Finely divided nickel is employed as a catalyst. Next application is gas mask. Now it is a device which consists of activated charcoal or mixture of adsorbents. These gas masks are used for breathing in coal mines to avoid inhaling of poisonous gases. Next is control of humidity. So silica and alumina gels are good adsorbents of moisture. The next application is production of high vacuum. If the temperature is lowered at a given pressure, then this increases the rate of adsorption of gases on charcoal powder. By using this principle, high vacuum can be attained by adsorption. So we can take a vessel evacuated by a vacuum pump and connect it to another vessel which consists of coconut charcoal cooled by liquid air. So this charcoal is going to adsorb the remaining traces of air or moisture to create a high vacuum. Next application is adsorption indicators. The adsorption is used to detect the end point of precipitation titrations. So dyes such as eosin, fluorescein are used as indicators. Let us consider an example to understand the same. If you take a solution of sodium chloride which contains a small amount of fluorescein, it is titrated against silver nitrate solution. When the titration is done, the chloride ions are over and the fluorescein is adsorbed on the white silver chloride precipitate, and hence it gives a red color formation. This color change from pale yellow to reddish pink is the end point. So adsorption indicators can be used to detect the next application is the separation of inert gases. So in a mixture of noble gases, different gases adsorb to different extent. So due to selectivity adsorption principle, gases can be separated on coconut charcoal. Next is froth flotation process. A low grade sulfide ore is concentrated by separating it from silica and other earthy matter using pine oil as frothing agent. So hydrophobic pine oil. Hydrophobic means it does not like water. It wets the sulfide ore which is taken up in the froth. So basically the pine oil is going to adsorb the sulfide ore and bring it up in the froth. Next application is chromatographic analysis. Now this is also based on selective adsorption of ions from solution using powdered adsorbents like silica or alumina gel. Now it has several industrial and analytical applications. Other applications include surface area determination, purification of water, etc. The next topic that we are going to study in this video is catalysis. Catalysts are very important in chemical industries and also in living organisms. A large number of chemicals which are manufactured in industries make use of catalyst to obtain specific products. The use of catalyst lowers the reaction temperature and also the energy cost. So how are you going to define catalyst? So it is a substance which when added to a reacting system increases the rate of a reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change. So basically we have to use catalyst in very small amount, and the main function of catalyst is it speeds up the rate of a reaction. Let us now study some important features of solid catalyst. So what is a catalytic activity? The activity of a catalyst depends on the strength of chemisorption. What is chemisorption? It is the kind of adsorption which involves a chemical reaction between the surface and the adsorbate. Chemisorption results in the formation of chemical bonds between the adsorbent and adsorbate. If there are large number of reactant molecules, it can be gas or liquid. They are strongly adsorbed on the surface of a solid catalyst. Then this catalyst is said to be active. However, the adsorption of reactant molecules on the surface results in the formation of a chemical bond between the adsorbate and the adsorbent surface. This bond formation should not be very strong so that they are not immobilized. Immobilized means preventing something from moving. It has been observed that the d block elements like iron, vanadium, chromium, they are strongly active towards gases like oxygen, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, etc. Manganese and copper are unable to adsorb on nitrogen and carbon dioxide. The metals like magnesium and lithium adsorb oxygen selectively. Next feature is catalytic selectivity. There are some solid catalysts which are very much selective in their action. The same gaseous reactants produce different products when different catalysts are used. So here are some examples. In the first reaction, the gaseous ethylene and oxygen react to produce different products using different catalysts. So here is the first reaction. ethylene reacts with oxygen in the presence of catalysts like palladium and aluminium oxide to give the formation of acetaldehyde. In the second reaction, again ethylene combines with oxygen, but now a different catalyst is used, that is silver and aluminium oxide, which forms a different product, ethylene oxide. The second set of reaction is the gaseous carbon monoxide and hydrogen produces different products by using different catalyst. So carbon monoxide reacts with hydrogen in the presence of nickel to form methane and water. In the second reaction, carbon monoxide reacts with hydrogen in the presence of catalysts like copper and zinc oxide and chromium oxide to form methanol. Next feature is shape selective catalysis by zeolites. Zeolites are aluminosilicates with three-dimensional network of silicates. Now some silicon atoms in this network, they are replaced by aluminium atoms giving ALOSI framework, and this results in microporous structure. Microporous means it has holes which are very small in size. Now the reaction in zeolites are dependent on the size and shape of the reactant or product and also on pores and cavities of zeolite. Cavity here is like a hole. Hence we can conclude that zeolites are shape selective catalyst. In petroleum industry, zeolite catalyst, that is ZSM5, converts alcohol directly to gasoline by dehydration, which gives a mixture of hydrocarbon. The full form of ZSM5 is zeolite soconimobil 5. So this was all about the first part of this chapter, adsorption.